All right, guys, so our last rule we need to talk about are negative exponents, okay? And here's the kicker. You can't have negative exponents in your answer. So we want to say that our rule for negative exponents is anytime I have something to a negative power, I move it to its reciprocal, okay? So what that means is if it's at the top of a fraction, I'm going to move it to the bottom. If I have something that is a negative exponent on the bottom, then I'm going to move it to the top. And when I do that, it becomes positive because we've taken the reciprocal. Remember, we think of negative as like the opposite, and reciprocal is the opposite, so that's why we move it, okay? Something that is important to note is that you only want to move the part of the problem that has a negative exponent. So let's make a little note of that. We only move the part with a negative exponent. So gotta remember that for later, okay? So if I do number 1, x to the negative fifth would become 1 over x to the positive fifth power, okay? So for number 2, again, that's what I'm talking about here, only move the part with the negative exponent. The 3 doesn't have a negative exponent. It has a positive exponent of 1. So it's going to stay on the top of our fraction, and the m to the second is what's going to move to the bottom of our fraction. Okay? So for number 3, it's going to be negative 7, going to stay on the top still. And our b to the third will stay on the top because those have positive exponents, but the a to the fourth is what will move to the bottom because it has a negative exponent. Okay, so give number 4 a shot. When you look at number 4, I have my multiplying rule, my product rule. 6 times negative 3 would be negative 18. And then since I'm following my product rule, I'm going to add my exponents. So 8 plus negative 7 would be x to the positive 1. So now I have no more negative exponents, and I don't have to worry about it. Okay? Let's try number 5. This here I've got a power rule because I've got it raised to a power. So I'll distribute to 3 to the negative 2, x to the negative 6. Well, both of these have a negative exponent, so I'm going to move both of them to the bottom and become 1 over 9 x to the 6th. Okay, give number 6 a shot and give number 7 a shot. Pause your video. If you did them correctly, you should get 1 over 25 y to the 4th and y to the 8th over 64 x to the 10th. Okay, so for number 8, here I have my product rule because I'm multiplying. So again, when I multiply, what do I do with my exponents? I add them. So I'm going to make this a to the 2nd, b to the 5th, c to the negative 5th, because negative 12 plus 7 is negative 5, which means I've got to move my c to the bottom of my fraction. So this becomes a squared b to the 5th over c to the 5th. Okay, try number 9. It's very similar. If you did it correctly, you should get 1 over x to the 19th, y to the 18th. Okay, so a few more here. We can do it. Stay with me here. Number 10, got several rules here. I've got my product rule, or excuse me, I keep saying that, my power rule, and then I've got to add. So this might be a little bit tricky. So I've got 4 to the negative 2nd. That's going to become 4 to the negative 2nd, x to the negative 6th, y to the negative 12. Okay, plus, then I'll distribute my negative 3. 2 to the negative 3, x to the negative 6, y to the negative 12. Okay, well, before I can combine anything, I've got to first make all of my exponents positive. So this becomes 1 over 16 x to the 6th y to the 12th plus 1 over 8 x to the 6th y to the 12th. Well, in order for me to add fractions, I have to have a common denominator. And my denominators are not the same right now because this one, even though the variables are the same, the coefficients are different. So I have to make them the same. So what I'll do is I'll multiply my second one times 2. That looks like a power of 2, but it's not, it's times. So this will become now 1 over 16 x to the 6th y squared plus 2 over 16 x to the 6th y squared, or y to the 12th. So then I can add my denominators that are the same. So this becomes 3 over 16 x to the 6th y to the 12th. Okay, try number 11 on your own. Follow your rule. If you did it correctly, you should have gotten 1 over h to the second. Okay, for number 12. Now, I've got an exponent on the top here and an exponent on the bottom. So before I can combine anything, I need to make my negative exponent become a positive, which means I'm going to move the k to the negative second to the bottom. So this will become 1 over k to the 7th, k to the second. And now these are being multiplied, so this will become 1 over k to the 9th, because when I multiply, my rule is that I add my exponents. Okay, try number 13. It's very similar. If you did it correctly, you should get 2w to the 6th. Okay, so for 14, again, same process. I can go ahead and simplify my coefficients, but I need to move my x to the negative second to the top to make it positive. So I've got negative 8 x to the 5th x squared, and then I can combine these together to become negative 8 x to the 7th. Okay, try 15 and 16 on your own. If you did them correctly, you should have gotten 1 over c to the 4th for number 15. And for 16, you should get x squared over y to the 5th. All right, making progress. So for number 17 here, okay, same idea. Simplify my coefficients. So 32 divided by 8 is 4. Then I've got a negative exponent on the bottom and a negative exponent on the top, so I'm going to flip them. So it becomes a to the 5th, a squared, over b to the 6th, b to the 3rd. So I'll simplify these together and become 4a to the 7th over b to the 9th. Okay, let's try one more like that. 36 divided by 12 is 3. And move my x to the negative 4th down to the bottom, which means I have y to the 8th on top still, over x to the 4th, y to the 7th. Well, I still have like terms here, so I've got to subtract them. 8 minus 7 is 1, so this becomes 3y over x to the 4th. Okay? Go ahead and try 19 through 21 for me. If you did it correctly, you should have gotten 5b squared over 6c. For 20, you should get negative q to the 3rd over 2pr to the 7th. And for 21, you should get negative s to the 4th over 6r to the 3rd t to the 4th. All right, almost done, just a couple more to go. For number 22, we've got a couple steps here. First thing I'm going to do is simplify my top. So 6 times 5 is 30, and a to the 12th over negative 12, a to the 14th. And now I need to simplify as much as possible. So something that could go into 30 and 12 is 6. So I would have 5 over 2. And then if I subtract a to the 12th, a to the 14th, that becomes a to the negative 2. Well, again, can't have a negative, so I'm going to move my a to the bottom and become 5 over 2a squared. Okay, give number 23 a shot. If you did it correctly, you should get 3y to the 4th over x squared. Okay, last one we're going to do together. I'm going to distribute the 2 to everything and then the 3 to everything. So this will become negative 6 squared x to the 8th y to the 12th over negative 4 to the 3rd x to the negative 9th y to the 15th. Okay, so from there, again, I don't need to move my negative 6 squared and my negative 4 to the 3rd because my powers are positive, so they stay put. Okay, but I can't simplify them, so this would become positive 36 because it's squared, x to the 8th, y to the 12th, over, and then my 64 would actually be negative because it's to the 3rd power. So negative 64 x to the negative 9th, y to the 15th. Okay, so then from there, I'm going to move my x to the 9th to the top, and I'll simplify my fraction at the same time. There is a number that can go into both 36 and 64. Do you know what it is? It's 4. So this will become 9 x to the 9th, x to the 8th, y to the 12th, over 64 divided by 9 is 16. And I have y to the 15th left. So then I can combine my x's and become 9x to the 17th. And if I do y to the 12th over y to the 15th, that'd be negative 3, but I want that to be on the bottom, so it's positive. So I'll put over 16y to the 3rd. That was a lot. Okay, so that's my final answer there. So you try number 25. Pause the video. If you did it correctly, you should have gotten 9 over 5c to the 5th. Okay, and if you're really ambitious, which I know all of you are, then go ahead and try the challenge problem. If you did it correctly, you should have gotten 8y to the 3rd over x to the 15th. All right, good job.